Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some r/butthole. And if you love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, or massively helps out the channel. And let's dive straight into today's first story. And it does follow with an update as well. It's from Empty Fondant 9586 who says, would I be the arsehole if I didn't buy a new engagement ring? Sorry for any mistakes, English isn't my first language. For 5 years now, I, male 26, am with the love of my life, female 25. I cannot express how much I love her and how important she is to me. I know I wanted to marry her shortly after getting together. We're finally financially stable enough, so I decided now is the time. In 2020, my girlfriend lost her grandmother. They were super close and it hit my girlfriend hard, especially because she couldn't have a last goodbye in the hospital. COVID restrictions didn't allow visitors. In early 2021, my girlfriend helped her sisters move houses. She was wearing a ring her grandmother gave her before she passed, and lost it while carrying boxes. This had hit her even more, and even now she will still sometimes cry about this because she feels like she lost the last memory of her grandmother. We had looked for the ring but hadn't found it. On Christmas, my girlfriend had cried again because she missed her grandmother and lamented the loss of the ring. This gave me an idea. She spent the weekend of New Year's Eve with a friend, so I contacted her sister and asked if I could search her house once again for the ring. When I mentioned that I wanted to use the ring to propose, she was super excited. She, her husband and my girlfriend's mother, who loved the idea as well, helped me and we eventually found the ring between some boxes in a garage. Even with 4 people looking, it took hours. I'm planning on proposing on the 14th, which is the anniversary of our first date, and we always go out to do something nice then. I'd mentioned it to my friends who were excited for me, but when they asked about what ring I got and I told them the story, they called me a cheapskate for not buying my girlfriend a new ring. They also said that it's not an engagement ring. I mean, it doesn't really look like an engagement ring because it isn't. It's a normal silver ring with an amethyst stone. My girlfriend struggled with anxiety and her grandmother got her one because apparently those stones help against anxiety. And yes, my girlfriend believes in healing powers of stones and often wears jewelry made out of them. They also said it's an arsehole move to use the ring someone else paid for as an engagement ring. One friend also brought up that by connecting the ring to our engagement, I might taint its original meaning. Now I don't feel so confident about this anymore. I thought that since the ring has a lot of meaning to her, it might be a good engagement ring. My girlfriend isn't big about clunky or expensive jewelry and even jokingly said she would even be okay with a candy ring because it's the symbolism that counts and not the ring itself. But now I'm scared I really might come off as a cheapskate and might not want the ring as an engagement ring, but just normal jewelry. Would I be the arsehole? Now this is a tricky one for me, but I got to say it just doesn't sit quite right with me. There's something there that doesn't sit right with me. They knew that their girlfriend loved this ring so much, so they made this huge effort to get the family together and actually find this ring for them. Do I think it's a good idea to hand over the ring as an engagement ring? And I kind of agree with one of the comments or what OP said that, you know, there may be memories attached to that ring. So I think this could go 50-50 basically. You hand over this ring as an engagement ring, she's going to go, what the hell? That's my grandmother's ring. Or they will find it really lovely. I think OP's heart is in the right place, but I think offering an additional ring might be the best solution here. And I partly say that because I'm trying to put myself like in the girlfriend's shoes here, and you know, I lost this really important ring to me, super precious to me, that, you know, occasionally I have memories and tears over this ring and the memories attached to it. And then someone brings it to me like as a surprise, like, oh, I've been holding on to this so I can surprise you with this engagement ring, and I think it just taints it a little bit to me. Like, whereas if you found something so precious to someone that means the absolute world to them, you want to return it into their hands as soon as possible. And I'm not saying OP was going to hold on to it for like ages and ages or anything like that, but even if it was like for a day or two, you'd still want that person to have that ring immediately because it means that much to them. And there was a comment from Sad Throwaway 85 who says, so I found your ring. I would like us to go find another ring, this time together. Will you marry me? And I think that is the way it should be. You've then done two wonderful things. You've gone to the effort to get the family together to find this ring, return it to her hands, which will mean the absolute world to this lady. And then you've surprised her with this lovely proposal at the same time. You've shown your love to her, what you're prepared to do for her, and now you want to marry her. I think that's wonderful, and I think that comment is perfect. But Fee Wong says, not the arsehole, but this is a bit dangerous. It might come off as a sweet move or it might backfire. Be prepared to answer questions like, when did you find it? Why didn't you tell me? Worst case, it comes down to her feeling that the ring symbolizes her memory of her grandmother and she might not appreciate you appropriating it to symbolize your proposal. So you're right to not feel confident. The safe bet is that you return the ring to her ASAP and get full credit. You've already got a sure thing finding a precious item she thought she had lost. Why mess it up? The lurk into comment says, soft you're the arsehole. It's wonderful that you went through all that trouble to find the ring and your girlfriend will be thrilled to have it back. However, the ring already belonged to her and she simply lost it. I think you should get a new ring for the engagement. It doesn't have to be fancy or expensive. Gemma2 says, this one is so difficult because the only opinion that actually matters is your girlfriend's. Personally, I hate it. My engagement ring symbolizes the relationship between my husband and I. The ring will always symbolize her relationship with her grandmother over her relationship with you. I would also be upset that you found it and basically re-hid it rather than giving it to her straight away. That just feels cruel when you know how much not having it is hurting her. So for me, yes, you're the arsehole if you do this, but if a reaction would be different, then it really doesn't matter what mine or anyone else answering here thinks. Chicago Man 9876 says, kudos to you for the effort in finding her ring. However, I think it would be tacky to give it to her as something from you. It's already hers. Again, you're awesome for finding it, but maybe give it to her and also pick out a ring with her as someone suggested. And one more from Fool Me Once who says, not the arsehole, I think it's a beautiful gesture. But if you're genuinely unsure, propose with this ring, and then when you're proposing, tell her that if she would rather a new ring of her own, you'll be happy to buy her one. This covers all your bases and doesn't make her feel like she's being forced to use her grandmother's ring as her engagement ring if she's uncomfortable with that. But now we're going to move on to the update to see what happens there. Lots of people asked for an update, so here it goes. As you can see at the date, it all went a bit different. Even though the verdict was no one's an arsehole here, lots of people decided to slide into my DMs and tell me how abusive and horrible I am, how stupid my girlfriend was, etc. It really wore down on my mental health all weekend, so on Sunday I couldn't take it anymore and decided to tell her right then and use our anniversary for ring shopping. We got food from her favourite restaurant, takeout sadly because of COVID restrictions, and then went on a walk. That's when I pulled out the ring. As many of you expected, she cried, happy tears. I explained how her family and I looked for it and how I want to make it my duty to forever make her happy. Asked her the big question, more happy tears. She said yes. Surprisingly enough, she wasn't mad that I kept the ring for 2 weeks. She just laughed and said she couldn't believe her sister could keep it a secret, because her sister is known to often occasionally spoil surprises. I told her that the ring is just a symbol of how I will always try to make her happy, and that we can go on real engagement ring shopping together, which was the general advice given to me in my original post. But she said she likes this ring as an engagement ring and would be happy to make it an heirloom from now on. Many said in the original post that it was an heirloom, but that's not true. She got the ring from her grandma as a normal present. Sorry if I made it sound like that, so the memory of her grandma can live through the next generations. She also joked about how we now have to get rose quartz wedding rings because apparently they go well with amethysts. To be honest, I don't understand much about the whole crystal stone thing, but I'm just happy that she is happy. The last few days she wore the ring with full pride. I think she didn't even take it off for sleeping. Though she takes the I will try to make you happy thing a bit too literal, and every time she asks for something she holds the ring in my face and jokingly says, I now have to do whatever she says. And a pretty awesome ending in the end there. I think that's absolutely amazing that, she did accept the ring in the end against what I was saying and many others as well. But I still think it could have went either way in the end. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Bobby Bukarabi. Apologies if I got that wrong. Titled, Am I the arsehole for not sharing my grandmother's inheritance with my father? When I was 13 years old, my mother found out my father was having an affair and he got the other woman pregnant. After this came out, my father confessed he was in love with the other woman and wanted to leave my mother. She was obviously heartbroken and didn't know what to do. We had moved to a new state with my father for work, so he had no family around. My father dropped us like a bad habit soon after this came out. He attempted to keep a relationship with me, but ultimately his new family was his priority, as he said. Tough to understand for a 13-year-old, but whatever. If he didn't want me, I wasn't going to need him, so mother and I moved on. But the only way we were able to move on was with the help of my grandmother, my father's mother. She always loved us and was appalled with what her son had done to us. He stopped seeing her as well for the most part. We became very close over the years, seeing each other for special occasions and holidays while her son was nowhere to be found. She even helped my mum out monetarily when we needed it too. Unfortunately, the years caught up with her and she developed colon cancer. Advanced late stage. Her decline was rapid. Within a few months, she was in a hospice. Days before she passed, she asked me to call her son to come see her, as she knew her time was coming. He'd only seen her a couple of times since she'd gotten sick. When he came by, I was visiting as we did every few days, and he acted like I was some random person. Grandma asked him to come back tomorrow, but he said he'd be back in a few days. She passed 4 days later without him coming back, despite my calls and texts to come. She went peacefully with me and my mum by her side. That was hard, and I miss her every day. She was my guardian angel most of my life, and I know she continues to watch over me. After the services, when my father did show up and made a big scene and made it about himself, we were contacted by her lawyer. Unbeknownst to everybody, she left me her house and a good amount of money, $200,000. No idea she did that, but in the will, there was a note to me from her that said, "You are worth it, love Grandma." Whew. She's amazing. Also in her will, she left my father exactly $1 as his inheritance. When he found out, he went ballistic, blowing up my phone all the time, demanding I give him his house and his money. His new wife and his son were messaging me a lot, and his son was writing on social media that I manipulated my grandmother. My father apologized and said he was under a lot of stress because he's in debt and was banking on this money to come in for bills and to send his son to college. That made me feel bad, like maybe I should give him something. I thought about it a lot, and I don't think I'm going to share anything with him, and I kinda think that makes me an arsehole, because it seems like they really do need it. But on the other hand, fuck him. I don't know. Am I the arsehole? Now, we've seen this before where a family member leaves someone $1 or a very small amount, and I think if what the comments said last time were right, is that so the courts, if they get involved, they can't contest it and say like, that mum just forgot to put her son in the will. So what she did was intentional. She wanted her grandchild to have that money. She wanted her grandchild to have that house, all because she saw what her own child did to her grandchild. So there's no way you're going to be the arsehole to me. This is what your grandmother wanted. But Bacon, Egg and Cheese SPK says not the arsehole. The reason she left him $1 was to make it clear to the court, in case he tried to challenge the will, that she hadn't forgotten to include him, but that she intended to disinherit him. She knew that her son would try to take the money she left you. It is a very common practice to leave $1 when disinheriting someone. Respect your grandmother's wishes and don't give your father a dime. There you go. Said it better than I could have. FuzzyAd336 says the other hand is right, not the arsehole. Your grandma intentionally left him $1 so he couldn't contest the will with, she wasn't in her right mind, she forgot about me. She wanted you to inherit. Honor your grandmother's wishes and FTG? Good old Urban Dictionary. It means fuck that guy. RBuff187 says do not give your father any money, nor his replacement family. He's in debt. That's his own doing, and it's not because he gave any support to you. Not the arsehole. I'm sorry for the loss of your guardian angel. PuppyFarts99. A lot of fart usernames just recently. I'm sure our very own Queen of Flatulence will appreciate them. Not the arsehole. I think you might want to consider helping out your dad though. Double his inheritance. Give him exactly $1 more. Better yet, send him a check for that amount. And there was a lot of comments just saying the same thing about the $1 and all that sort of thing. But we're going to finish up with Dolphin Girl 7, who says, "Believe in your grandmother's words. You are worth it. Don't let anyone convince you that you are not worthy of her love, affection, and inheritance. She wanted you to have a house and money. Anyone who says differently is disrespecting her last wishes and her memory. If anyone disagrees, simply tell him I'm honoring her wishes. You are worth it." Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you say to OP? Do you have a different opinion on this at all? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. And our next story comes from Castle Lord 73, who says, "Am I the arsehole for not telling my mum about my fiance's sexuality? I, 27 male, proposed to my girlfriend Ellie, 28 female, and she said yes. We've dated for 6 years, lived together for 3, raised 2 cats together, and talked about marriage and having children for a long time. Title clarification. My fiance is bisexual. Before we started dating, we were friends since freshman year of college. When I met her, she identified as a lesbian, which wasn't a problem for me. I even met a couple of her ex-girlfriends and supported her through her breakups. Later she realized that she was bisexual, and again I supported her. Then we started dating, and I've never been happier. From the start of our relationship, I made it clear to her that her sexuality wasn't an issue for me and that I accepted her for who she is. However, she's not openly bisexual, as she doesn't feel that her sexuality is anyone else's business. For that reason, I never felt the reason to tell my mum about her sexuality, as I never considered it a problem or a topic of conversation, just a fact. When I went home for dinner, I told my mum about the engagement. She was very happy, since I'm an only child and she sees Ellie as the daughter she never had. A couple of my friends who know about Ellie's sexuality went over to the house and we had a few drinks. Drunk, one of my friends commented, "How does it feel to marry someone who slept with more girls than you?" in front of my mum. After my friends left, my mum asked me for an explanation and I revealed my fiance's sexuality to her. A little confused, she said, "Well, now that she's with you, she's not like that anymore, right?" And I denied it. No, she's still bisexual. To which my mum got a little mad. "How can you marry a lesbian?" she asked me. I explained to her that bisexual is not the same thing, but according to her, if she has been with women, she is a lesbian. I decided not to argue with her and went back to my house. The next day, Ellie showed me a voice message she received from my mum telling her horrible things and refusing to have a daughter-in-law who uses her son as a screen to hide that she's an offensive term, which I won't say. I saw red and called my mum. Instead of apologizing, she was offended that I wasn't on her side and outed my fiance in front of our entire family. Now some religious relatives are opposed to coming to our wedding, even though my cousins and a couple of uncles and aunts are on our side. This has been very stressful and hurtful for my fiance, since her sexuality was always a sensitive issue for her. Her mum still doesn't accept it and kicked her out for it. And all this hate towards her makes me fear that she might decide to call off the wedding. My mum is not generally homophobic, so this new attitude of hers surprises me and makes me think that if I told her before, maybe she wouldn't have reacted this way. So, am I the arsehole? No, not the arsehole, and well done for sticking with your fiance on this. You know, you said your mum isn't generally homophobic. That's just because she is homophobic. That she went to the extent of sending her offensive voice messages as well. And I can't see your fiance wanting to be around your mum after that either. She knows what she thinks of her. She's shown her true face to you now and what she thinks of your relationship. So are you going to want her at your wedding in the end? I can't see it happening, but that will be down to you in the end. But T to the D to the O, who says, "Not the arsehole, keep sticking up for your fiance. Sorry to tell you, but yes, your mum is generally homophobic. She's showing you who she is." What this for replies to that saying, "Yes, your mum is a NIMBY homophobic. I accept those people, but not in my backyard." No Jellyfish says, "Not the arsehole, as your fiance says her sexuality is not your mum's business." Montana Rogue says, "Not the arsehole. First, congrats on getting engaged. Your friend starting this whole thing with his drunk comment is an arsehole for shooting his mouth off. You are trying to be nice in saying she's not generally homophobic, but she sure as hell is not only homophobic, she's outright nasty about calling and leaving that short message and thinking that there are sides where both sides can be valid points of view, which there isn't. Your mum is homophobic and a total arsehole. Please be there and support your fiance, and if folks can't be civil about this, then they can go pound sand and kick some rocks too. It's not your fault those folks have chosen to be actively hateful. If specific family members are threatening to be uncivil, you will have to follow your heart on what to do. And one more from Les Statistician, who says, my mum is not generally homophobic, and then says, well, turns out she is. If she can't be supportive or stay out of business, that has nothing to do with her, then she shouldn't be invited to the wedding. Not the asshole, but your mum and any family member that agrees with her is. Now, what would you say to this situation? Now that the mum has come out and said this, is the fiance ever going to be able to forgive that and move on? I can't personally see it. But what are your thoughts on this story? Let me know in the comments below if you have a moment of your time to share them. Now, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, time and support means the absolute world to me, and I know 20 minutes is an exceptional amount of time to take out of your day to spend it with me, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.